Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Sweatable podcast. My name is Brooks Herbis, and I'm an online fitness, nutrition, and mindset coach who's here to help you simplify and make sense out of the all too confusing fitness and nutrition industry. Let's be real, there's a lot of conflicting information online, and it can be hard to know what's legit and who to trust. In every episode, I'll be sharing the science and psychology behind health, fitness, and long-lasting behavior change. But I'll also be sharing real-life practical application because all of the best info in the world only matters if you can actually apply it to your real life. So grab a coffee, water, glass of wine, or lace up your walking shoes, and let's dive in. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the Sweat Simple podcast. I am super excited about today's episode, like I always am, because I have a feeling that this is a topic that is going to resonate with a lot of you, and especially this time of year as we are in fall and feeling like we are at the start of a new season and we have all of this energy. I think you're going to feel this one even more. So today's podcast episode, as you might know by the title, is Are You Addicted to False Hope? And you know that feeling at the start of a new diet or week, or like I said, like a new season, like this fall, when you are just so excited about what's to come, like all of the planning and the, prep and feeling like you're on this like new journey, that is like so exciting. You are so hopeful about all of the progress that you're about to make. You're feeling really motivated. You have full faith that this is going to be the time you finally get the results that you've been hoping for. Every time you start a new diet, a new week, whatever it might be, you have all of this anticipation. You just have all of this hope, all of this faith, all of this excitement that this is going to be the week, the diet, the season that you finally reach your results. But do you find yourself never actually taking action? Tuesday, Wednesday comes around and you haven't actually done anything. You are 2 weeks into this quote unquote new diet and you haven't actually gotten anywhere. There's actually a name for this phenomenon, and it's called false hope. And false hope is really just the idea of being excited about what's to come. Like, there is so much potential because you haven't actually had to do anything yet. But that's kind of the issue. And you might be feeling like you're stuck in that cycle because false hope is really exciting and fun, but it also keeps us stuck. You get motivated, you're excited, but then you just end up frustrated because you're never actually getting anywhere time and time again. And if this is resonating with you, if you are nodding along, you might be addicted to this feeling of starting something new, this feeling of all the hope and potential, whether it's every single Monday or every time you start a new program. But if you can't figure out how to actually take action, which we are going to get into, you're going to start to get really frustrated with yourself because yes, this excitement is really fun, but it doesn't feel so good when we're never actually doing anything with it, when we're never actually get anywhere. Like, it's amazing to start with this motivation, but real progress only happens when we take action. So if you are finding yourself stuck in a cycle, if you feel like you love this feeling of a new diet, a new week, a new season, but you're never doing anything with it, I have some questions that I want you to ask yourself because I want you to start digging a little bit deeper. It is no longer enough to be stuck in this false hope cycle with all of the potential progress like right on the horizon. This is a season where I want you guys to get serious and to really start making progress. So if you find yourself once again falling into that false hope cycle that it's Monday, I'm gonna just crush this week, I can like feel it all building, we need to get you to a place of actually taking action. So some questions that I want you to start asking yourself. Number one, do you have a plan or a goal in place? Is this false hope coming from just general excitement about a new plan, or do you actually have a starting point? Like, do you find yourself every week being like, all right, this is the week I'm going to crush it. I am so excited for this new week. I know I'm going to like hit my goals this week. I'm going to crush it. But you don't actually have a plan in place for how you're going to get there. If so, you're just relying on this endless excitement. But as you know, this excitement fades throughout the week, especially when we're not taking action. We start to get frustrated because once again, we're falling into an old pattern. So at the start of the week, don't just allow yourself to be carried by this excitement. Ask yourself if you have a plan in place. Do you know what your actual goal is for the week and how you're actually going to get there? It's not enough to just say, oh, I'm going to be really healthy this week, or I'm going to get to the gym this week. Start getting specific. What does eating healthy look like, and how are you going to make that happen? Does it mean you are cooking dinner at home every night this week? Does it mean that you have prepped some of your meals? Does it mean that you have pre-logged for the entire week if you're tracking calories and you know with 100% certainty if you eat those foods, you're going to hit your calories? What days are you getting to the gym? Don't just rely on this excitement, this false hope. Get a plan in place to be taking action. All right. Second question I want you to ask yourself. If you never follow through because you find yourself making excuses as the week or the diet or the season goes on, I want to know what those excuses are, because it's great to come up with a game plan for what's going to happen when we feel really perfect about life. But it's even more important sometimes to come up with a game plan for the excuses too. And if this is something you find yourself falling into, the constant excuse trap, feeling like something is always coming up that's preventing you from reaching your goals, I highly recommend going and listening to a podcast episode I released a few weeks ago on mental contrasting. I think it's titled How to Actually Stick to Your Goals, something like that, in the next 6 months. And that's going to help you walk through this actual process. So it's going to help you not just set goals for the things you want to hit, but also set plans for when the goal doesn't go as planned. So what are the excuses that you typically find yourself coming up with, and how can you start to plan for those as well? So, if we go back to that eating healthy meals at home example, what are the excuses that usually pop up midweek? Is it that you are typically so tired after the workday that you just don't want to cook? Okay, totally fair. What's your game plan for that? If you get home from work and you are too tired to cook, what are you going to do instead of ordering takeout for the 50 millionth time? Maybe it means that you have a few frozen meals that are healthy in your freezer already. Things like, frozen grilled chicken breasts that you can quickly heat up, brown rice, frozen veggies. What's a meal that you could quickly throw together? So think about not just what your plan is for the week, but also what the excuses typically are that you come up with, and plan for those as well. Third question I want you to ask yourself, if you are in this never-ending false hope cycle, is there a mindset that's holding you back from staying consistent? Are you falling into the trap of perfectionism, all or nothing thinking, throwing in the towel every single weekend? All three of those are actually very related to one another, and it is part of human nature. However, if we want to stay consistent long term, we need to start working through some of those mindsets. So do you find yourself falling into that trap? The second that you can't be perfect, you're ditching your goals, and you keep saying you'll start again next week. That is going to keep you in this false hope cycle of having a lot of excitement during the week, or at the start of the week, but never following through. So in order to get over those hurdles, it might be that we need to start working on some of those deeper mindset things. We need to get you to a point of ditching your perfectionism, ditching your all or nothing thinking, not feeling like you're messing up just because you ate one food or had one day that didn't go as planned. We need to get you to a place of taking consistent action, and that typically comes from something that we need to fix in your overall mindset. Fourth question I want you to ask yourself is, what is your support and accountability for this plan. So it is a lot easier to follow through when you feel like you have some skin in the game, like you're paying for coaching or a program, or you know someone is watching you. It's one thing when you're really tired on a Wednesday and you don't feel like cooking dinner to come home and let yourself off the hook if it's just you, yourself, and I holding you accountable. But when you know that you have like an accountability buddy or a coach like myself who is helping you reach these goals, a lot of times you don't want to let them down. And not that you would ever be, letting me down as a coach, but you feel that extra sense of accountability. You don't just want to make yourself proud. You also want to, prove to yourself and this coach and make your investment in coaching worth it. So you're going to think twice before you just completely ditch your plan again. So having this accountability, having this extra support can actually allow you to stay a lot more consistent and get out of the cycle of just having the excitement and the motivation and get into the cycle of actually putting pen to paper, for lack of a better analogy, and start taking action. So instead of just relying on the excitement to carry you through, you have a plan in place, but you also have the accountability in place to stick with the plan, even when you don't feel like it, even when you're feeling unmotivated, even when you're feeling tired. So having that accountability, that extra support can help you get out of the excitement, false hope cycle and into the, hey, we're actually showing up and taking action cycle. Now, fifth, and most importantly, this is more of a reminder rather than a question to ask yourself. So I want to remind you guys that nothing changes if nothing changes, period. So ask yourself what you need in these next few months to start taking action instead of only relying on false hope. What you've been doing, if you are nodding along to this podcast, this all resonates with you, this excitement every Monday, start of a new week, but then it's always following through. That whatever you're doing, whatever method you are using to lose fat, whatever habits you are trying to put in place, it's not working. And I don't mean that to sound harsh. It's just true. And the good news though is that there's probably a reason that it hasn't been working. And all we need to do is change something if you want different results. Instead of always falling back into this false hope narrative, we need to start making some changes to your daily, your weekly actions, your mindset, give you some accountability in order to get you over this hump and in order to get you to start making progress, start putting action into place instead of just relying on that excitement, that motivation. And if you don't know what those things are that you need to change, walk through this podcast, walk through this episode one more time. Do you have a plan or a goal in place for the week ahead? Or are you just going for vibes? Are you just hoping for the best, but you don't actually have a plan of attack in order to get there? Make sure you have that plan in place. Number 2, identify what the excuses are that typically cause you to, give up or throw in the towel midweek, and make sure you also have a plan in place for those excuses. Number 3, let's get deep onto your mindset. What is holding you back from staying consistent? When do you find yourself throwing in the towel? When do you typically give up? It's probably related to something like perfectionism, your all or nothing thinking, throwing in the towel every weekend. That is a big piece of the puzzle that we need to fix moving forward in order to get you to take consistent action. Lastly, what is your support and accountability for this plan? Make sure that it is not just you, yourself, and I holding you accountable. You need some extra skin in the game. You need someone else to help you in those really difficult, hard moments when you're not feeling motivated, when you're not feeling excited, because unfortunately, fat loss is exciting at the beginning. You have that false hope feeling. You have that feeling of excitement. It's not even false hope if you're following through. So at the beginning of, a diet phase, a week, whatever it is, you have that excitement. That's normal. That's great. We want to build on that. But we need to make sure that you're actually taking action. And the truth is that as time goes on, this gets boring. Fat loss, when you're doing it in the right way, when you're doing it in the sustainable way, it's boring. You're doing the same habits over and over, day after day, week after week. That's not exciting. So if you're addicted to this feeling of excitement, this motivation at the start of a new program, a new week, you're going to start to feel a little bit bored during a successful fat loss phase. And in those moments, you need someone that's going to remind you that you're on the right path. You don't need to change anything. You don't need any more of this like false hope excitement. What you need is to trust the process and to stay consistent and to stick with it even when it feels boring. So if super sustainable long-term fat loss is important to you, we need to help you overcome this feeling of being addicted to this excitement of the newness and the hope of like these big changes that are coming over the horizon, and instead get you really focused on taking that continuous action and come up with a game plan that's going to get you there. So if this was helpful, I would love to hear from you guys. As always, my DMs are always open. Shoot me a DM if you have any questions, if this was just helpful, if you have feedback for the next episode. I love to hear from you guys so I don't feel like I'm just randomly speaking into this microphone into the abyss. So shoot me a DM. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for listening as always, and I will talk to you next week.